Well, hello, friends. This is Kimberly. It's episode 339, and I'm so glad that you're here today because you are in for a treat. I have a very special guest on the show. Her name is Sarah St. Clair, and she is amazing, y'all. She is proof that even in busy seasons of your life, if you truly feel a tug at your soul to pursue something more, that you can do it. You can do it in your way, and you can build your definition of success for right now. You're going to be so inspired by her. She's a mom of 6 girls. She's homeschooled them. She's a dance instructor. Her husband owns a theater company. And then she finally started these Christian retreats that we had been nudging her to do because she was in Grow Getters with us and would be on the Zoom calls. And she has her resale dancewear business, but then was also thinking about starting these Christian retreats. And we're like, Sarah, you have to do it. And she did it. I'm so proud of her. And that's why I have her on the show, because I want you to see what's possible for you. So all her information is down below. She hosts a podcast called Sisters Renewed Podcast, and her retreats are called Sisters Renewed in Greenville, South Carolina. You're going to hear it all here and how she did it, and it's going to inspire you that you can do it too. And if you're here today saying, gosh, there is something that I've been wanting to do. I've been wanting to start a business or build a business. I'm trying to get mine going and you need help. Maybe you're even starting a podcast. Know that I have everything available to you at KimberlyBrock.com. There's a link down below. You can click to it. Go to my website. I've got free resources for you, coaching programs, and everything to help you. So without further ado, we're on to the episode. Hello, Sarah. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you here on the show. You are superwoman to me. I respect you so much for all you have done. And I'm ecstatic to share you with the world so they can see too that you can define success differently, which is a quote from you, and you can pursue your passion and your business your way. So Sarah, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, I am just absolutely over the moon, delighted to be here. Like it's literally a bucket list dream. And seriously, I remember back when I started listening to your podcast and then had started my first business, you talked about me in one of your podcasts, and I squealed into in the van driving down the road. The girls are like, "What, Mom?" I'm like, "She's talking about me." And I posted it on Facebook. I sent it to my friends. And so, now to actually be on your podcast and just, so delighted to be here.
Well, I'm glad. It's such an honor for me as well. And yes, I have sprinkled a little bit about you in probably several episodes. And I know in Grow Getters, I was loving talking to you. We'd been on our group calls and I think you're such a shining example of, building a business during a season of life that may seem so busy, but you still feel that tug at your soul. You feel that calling to do something. And there's a way you can do it that doesn't take all the time in your life, that doesn't take away from the things that are important to you, but it allows you at least to have that outlet and to pursue it. So that's what I wanted to talk about today and share with everyone what you have done. I would gladly award you probably the most busy mom award. Nobody can outdo you on this one. I literally am amazed all the time. But what's amazing to me is, sometimes when people say you're busy and you do this, that maybe that has a negative connotation that you're neglecting things. And I think it's quite the opposite with you. I feel like you have so many intentional things that you're doing in your life that are so admirable, but you're still able to fit in the things that you feel called to do even outside of your family. So we were going to talk about that today. I think it's super interesting. So for all of you listening, you cannot say that you are too busy to pursue your dream in a way that can fit in your life if you really feel the tug in your soul. Sarah's going to prove it today to you. So I hope everyone walks away with that it can be done your way and you have to define success differently. So let's start out. You and I met, even before we met, you were starting a business, or did you already have your clothing resale
Had
business?
the name. So the name had come to me twice upon a tutu. And I was like, man, now I have no excuse not to start this business because the name is too cute not to. So I had been wanting to start a secondhand dancewear. I have 6 daughters, and they were all taking dance classes, and, they outgrow stuff within a month sometimes, or at least, twice a year, you're having to go buy new tap shoes, new jazz shoes, new Leos, and the ones that they have still look basically brand new, and it's just crazy. That's why Twice Upon a Tutu, started just I couldn't get it out of my head, and so I I personality-wise, I am not a go-getter. Like, people would think with all the things that I do, "Wow, she must be a type A personality, so organized." No. I am, very I overthink everything. I am totally procrastinator. I was always chronically late until I had a job where I had to be 15 minutes early. So, you would not have looked at my personality profile and said, "Oh, she would be a great business owner." But I I just had to do it, and so I'm like, "I better get help if I'm supposed to do this." So, I looked up a podcast, like, "Is there a podcast I could listen to?" Because I love listening to podcasts, and I was like, "Starting a business podcast," and your podcast popped up. And,
Woot, woot. Thank you,
literally
Apple
that
Podcasts.
Yes, and literally that week, I just started listening and heard you just say, if you have something you wanna do and God's put that dream in your heart, you have no excuse not to do it. And you
Mm,
can do it afraid, you can do it messy, but you have to do it. And I just felt like you were talking right to me.
mm.
So, I jumped out
That's so
and
sweet,
started it.
Sarah. That's so sweet. Yeah. And there you were. So that was probably what, like 2020 maybe? Was that
Yeah,
COVID time
so
or after
no,
COVID?
the year that I started the business was 2022.
Mm,
It's Twice Upon a Tutu, and the year I started it was 22. And so tutu, I just
got it.
thought that
Okay.
was
Oh, yeah.
hilarious.
Yes. Yeah, you're like, "That was meant to be." That's amazing. So your mission for Twice Upon a Tutu, would you share that with everyone? I think it's probably kinda at least twofold, but I would love to hear you
Yeah,
share that
so
because I
it's
think there's a
really
lot of
to
people that yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, to help people that can't afford that all the brand new dancewear stuff to still have their kids feel good, to look professional and present themselves professionally in the dance studio and on stage, but at a fraction of the cost. So, and then also it helps to pay for my kids' dance and dancewear.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes,
like,
yes, and
"You
it's
need
so
new
great.
shoes?" Now I can go shopping in my own store for my
Yeah, it's, for
multiple
selfish
children.
reasons. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I don't know how you did 6 girls putting them through dance. I have one that has been in dance for a very long time, and it's a fortune. It's an absolute fortune. And then, yes, the clothes are important so that they feel good, but also too, just the fact sometimes they're in those dance rooms and practice, and they can feel less than if they don't have
Yes.
certain, looks or they just don't feel
Right.
confident. So it's just goes a long way.
And as a teacher, I know that there's, a different quality to, Copizio and Block, tap shoes, ballet slippers. Those are a whole different level of quality than what you get at Target or Walmart or whatever. And so even I've started making little videos to help make people aware and even show them this is a cheap tap shoe and look how thin the tap is, but this is decent quality tap shoe. This is why it's $40 more expensive or whatever. But
Right.
then,
Right.
I sell it for half that cost, but it still has so much life in it. So I'm helping people get access to that better quality stuff. So I named it a boutique, Twice Upon a Tutu cl- Dancewear Boutique, because it is, I try to sell mostly the upscale stuff.
Right.
the higher
Yeah.
name brands for less cost.
Yeah. Well, what a wonderful mission. I love that. And so it brings me to the next cool thing that happened in your life. So while you were, building that business, you had also been, as I said earlier, in my group program called Grow Getters, and we would be on Zoom calls. And every now and then you would drop a little nugget that you had been thinking about starting some type of Christian retreat or women's retreat, and you were trying to piece it together in your head. And I kind of saw your evolution of like, this is what I feel my calling is. Like, I've always wanted to do this, but it feels so grand. I don't know how I do it. And then you
Yes.
kind of would go through the self doubt and then, like, do I really have time to do this? And this is normal. This is what so many of my listeners go through. So, all of you listening that are feeling these things that Sarah has felt, know that it's okay and it's normal. But this is what she did about it. She kept thinking about it. And then she kind of would drop the little nuggets to us in the group that, like, she was thinking about it. And everyone would just kind of stop and be like, well, why aren't you doing that? What's going on? Like, you feel this tug at your soul. And so share a little bit about that with us, Sarah, because there's people out there right now that are listening that feel a tug at their soul or they feel a higher calling to do something. And I would love to share for you to share your experience with that.
Yeah. So since the youngest, I remember even as a teenager having deep conversations with like my mom's friends and just being able to encourage them and share like a verse of scripture or just some deep thought that God gave me. I don't know. I tend to be just a deep thinker and I love to have deep conversations. So I just always felt this pull towards like wanting to encourage women. And the Lord just really unlocked a key in me when I finally realized how much He loved me and that His love then gave me permission to not be in competition with other women. And I didn't have to worry about what they thought of me or if they liked what I was wearing or if I was cool or not, because I tended to always be like a little bit of on the edge of things. I wasn't really like the cool kid. I was homeschooled, I was nerdy. And so I had a lot of like personal insecurities that held me back from like being very open with women or with my peers, even. But when I just like realized like this isn't a competition, like they're as insecure as I am, then I just wanted to like be like, "Hey, I need someone to tell me that I'm loved, that God has a reason for me being here on earth and that I can do it even if I have insecurity." And so I'm like, oh, just the way Kimberly did that for my business, I could turn around and do that for women in their spiritual life. And so God just was like, I think you should start a podcast about that. And I have a lot of friends who have gone through really hard things, sudden death of a spouse or a child or, just a shocking divorce that they came out of the blue, passing away of a parent early on in life or whatever. And the more I thought about it, all of like so many of them seem to be the most joyful people. I'm like, how are the most joyful friends of mine, the most peace and content friends, the ones who have gone through the hardest stuff in life? So that's what motivated me to start the podcast was to interview these friends and find out the key for them of like why do you still believe in God? Like I think would really question my belief in God and his goodness if he asked me to walk that road. And starting to interview them, it was just amazing to find out how God showed up for them in those moments. And I just wanted their stories to be presented to the world and to encourage other people going through those seasons that they're not alone in what they're suffering through and that they too can make it to the other side of like really difficult seasons of life. So That's why I started the podcast, Sisters Renewed, and then it turned
Yes.
into wanting to be face to face with women and, like, actually hug them and be able to pray with them face to face and tell them face
Mm.
to face, like, some of these encouraging things. So,
It's absolutely beautiful. It's just such a beautiful thing, and it is a calling, and it's such a gift you have, and I can just tell how empathetic, sympathetic, and loving you are, and just how God is speaking through you and has given you these gifts to be able to walk alongside those who may be hurting or in pain and to encourage them. So I think it's absolutely beautiful to witness. And so you have the podcast Sisters Renewed, and then you decide I want to see them in person. So
yes.
how do you then start taking action on that? So for anyone listening that's been wanting to do in-person type of events, which by the way is a huge need right now, a massive need. We are so connected, but we are so disconnected in this world, and people are yearning for community and real life time together. So hint to everyone out there, if you've had a little tug at your soul that you want to do something in your community, whatever it is, to play sports, to gather people for any kind of thing, I think it's wonderful for right now. But, anyways, for you, so how did you go from that moment of, okay, now I have this yearning to see them in person? Then what did you do?
Yeah, so I had to find place, and I got just, like, my husband made sure he was on board with it, and then got a few friends that I could bounce ideas off of and stuff and start, like, dreaming together about, okay, if we're gonna invite women into a place, like, what does that look like? What would make it different than anything else that is offered? A lot of churches have women's conferences or their, ladies' day at church or whatever. But there were things about those different experiences for me as more of an introvert that I always felt lost in the giant crowds of people and the big, like, it was like one message after another message without time to process. And I'd come home feeling more overwhelmed than renewed from a lot of these things. And so we just started brainstorming what time would look like. And so we've put in time for people to process things. I had to get like a worship team to lead worship times. And so I just started breaking it all down into basically categories and then defining what I pictured would be like a neat way that would make people really want to come. So we have like goodie bags that we buy goodies, intentional that go with the theme of the retreat that we give them. We've started painting journals. So we'll order journals off Amazon that are like blank. And we always paint the front of them with a butterfly because butterflies are my part of my logo for
Hmm.
Sisters Renewed. Butterflies are my reminder that God loves me. And so they're really special to me. So we've just used those. So yeah. And then we pick like a color theme. I have a friend that loves to decorate and she's very good at it. And so I just like I tell her, this is the word theme for this retreat. What color do you think of? Or what
Mm.
color palette do you think of? And then we just go from there with decoration stuff. I think the biggest thing is realizing that like simplicity is like, it doesn't have to be as elaborate as what our mind can think it has to be. Even with decorating, I've found that simple decorations on the table can still
Mm.
elevate it if it's done well. So, and then a lot of that stuff can go from one retreat to the next, like greenery. I buy a couple of greenery things on sale at Hobby Lobby, but now I have like a collection, that all goes in a bin is all marked Sisters Renewed. It goes into storage and it can be pulled back out. I have a few arches now that I've bought, like one arch for the retreats. But then my daughter got married in October and she wanted more arches. She had this like dream for her wedding. So we bought 2 more arches. And I'm like, it's an investment. I can use it for my retreat. So now I have 3 arches
Right.
that I can use.
The
So it's
business
great.
expense.
And 5 more daughters that will be getting married at some point.
Awesome.
So
I can't. I can't. I mean, I'm just thinking about all of this. I'm like, how, but what a joy. Now, fun fact, this is off the subject, but you have 6 daughters, but how many kids did you tell me before that you really wanted?
I really wanted 10. I don't know why
You
10.
really wanted 10.
I really did. I still would love to adopt twin boys.
Oh, and then get to experience that, all that rambunctiousness of boys. Yes, they're a whole
Yes.
different beast
I
than the
think I
girls.
might be getting too old for that though. Even to adopt them. I'm just like, I don't know if I have the energy for that,
Mhm.
but to
You
start
have
at the
such a
baby
loving
stage
heart.
again, but,
Yeah, I
um,
know, right?
yeah. If
Right.
God asked
So
me to, I wouldn't say no.
then you will. You will obey. Well, for the business side of your retreat, I know there's so much heart into it and why you wanted to do it and your mission and caring for them. But there is a business side to it, right? And like
Yeah,
you said reusing the different decorations, having tasteful, just simple decorations. How do you deal with like the music, the food, and the venue? How does that come into play for your costs and what have you done to get creative to keep costs down?
yeah. So I I say I got lucky, but of course, God provided the place that my husband runs a theater company at allows us to use the theater space. They have event space that they rent out, but they allow me to use that space free of cost.
Mm,
And so that's just been a huge blessing. And
yes.
so another reason why I was like, I can't really say no, but yeah, like finding that event space, there are a lot of like city halls, creational places in every city really that I think, you could rent that space. I had started doing the retreats like a Friday night into a Saturday, but we
Mhm.
found that putting it all on Saturday works better
Mm,
for renting a space. Then we can decorate it the night before and come in on Saturday morning. It's all set and ready. We've had a good night's sleep, and then we can do the
right.
retreat and just go from there. So, but yeah, and
Yeah.
then like
Yeah, that's smart.
finding donors for like the food. We've checked with some restaurants to get deals on like catering stuff, which like we haven't done that a whole lot. We tend to make a lot of our food just cuz my husband likes to cook. So I'm also blessed that way. So he's like, "You want spaghetti?
Wow.
This time I'll make our homemade spaghetti, my mom's recipe." I'm like, "Yes, thank you."
Yes, you're
So
like, "Yes and yes." That's so awesome. Oh my gosh, y'all are such a team. You have to be with that many kids and everything going on. Teamwork makes the dream work. So that's
yes.
wonderful. I love that. And then as far as like, figuring out your ticket prices. So for anyone out there that's listening and is like trying to figure out like how much do I charge for my retreat? What do I do? How did you have to experiment? What did you do to try
Yeah.
to get to a price that you feel comfortable with?
Yep. So I was mentioning like I've gone all across the board with pricing, trying to see if the price really affects people registering or not registering, coming, not coming. So the first retreat that I had, I charged, I think probably the highest. I think I charged like around $120 a ticket. And I I said, "How much do we pay for a meal normally? Like, if we're gonna go buy a meal?" And so, like, $10 per meal. So it ended up being like $30 for food and then $10 for the goodie bag. And I just kind of separated each category. Like, how much would I think that a inspirational speech, that I'd be willing to pay for an inspirational speech? And so put that in there. How much would we pay for a concert ticket, you know? And so I just kind of divvied it out and then added it together to come up with a ticket price. And then when I went less on the ticket price, it didn't change the amount of people that came. It's always been around the same amount of people. Even when I think one year we were like, let's just make it free and see if a bunch of people will come if it's free. And it still ended up being right about 20 people that signed up and
Right.
came. So,
Right.
and then I was
Yeah.
out all that money. So I'm like, note to
Right.
self, like, and I
Yeah.
had another business coach that was like, yes, please promise you will never do another
Yeah.
retreat for free, like ever again.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I said, okay.
It's yeah, and it's hard, like, when you're trying to price an experience, it causes a lot of mind drama, right? We know what certain
Yes.
products are worth, but what is an experience worth? And it's very hard. And then I think it is so fascinating that you have tried all different prices. I love that you did that. So now no one else really needs to do all that. Just pick a price and go and see, how that is working, if it's profitable or not, and just go from there, because when people want the experience, the pricing becomes irrelevant. Even when it's 0, the pricing becomes irrelevant. So point well taken that we all need to stop the mind drama about the pricing. And in fact, I'd done a recent podcast episode on this. Now I can't remember which one it was, but it was within the last probably 5 or 6 episodes. Y'all can see that lowering your price doesn't necessarily make you more valuable or bring you more clients. It can
Mhm.
even do the opposite, because then people make up
Yes.
something in their mind about the quality of what's being offered, and then they judge it the other way, like, "Oh, this isn't maybe it's not worth my time," right? So
Yeah.
so with that, what do you foresee as, like, the pattern, the intervals that you're gonna hold these retreats? What seems to work out for this season of your life for you?
Yeah. So at first I was just like, oh man, if these go good, I'm just going to do one like every month or every 3 months or something. But then I looked at my calendar and I was like, that is just not what can happen. So I found that doing one in January is a lovely time for people. They're thinking about the new year and wanting to start the new year fresh. And so Renew Retreat, it just fits for January to kind of reset, to give people some encouragement and kind of set their soul with new hope and motivation for the coming
Yeah,
year. And then we do a
yeah,
retreat in June when life, all the craziness of, school and all of that has come down. And so I always do my retreat right before I go on vacation in June.
hmm,
So I'm not
smart.
thinking about it on vacation. Like, it's been tempting sometimes to be like, oh, that weekend after vacation looks real open. But I knew that I would just be thinking about it the whole vacation about the retreat. So
Right.
I
Right.
do the retreat and then go on
100%.
vacation. So,
Very, very smart. See, everyone listening, you can pattern this around your life in a way that fits. So I love that you did that. I think that's super smart. It's just amazing that you've done this. And I know so many lives have been touched, dare I say, changed from what you're doing. And I think that that's amazing. What tips do you have for my listeners out there that are, you know, struggling? Again, they feel that tug at their soul and they want to start. What are some recommendations for how to get started? And then once you get started, what are some thoughts, lessons learned, anything you'd like to
yeah.
share with everyone listening?
Yeah, so I feel like taking time to put a date on the calendar for yourself to say, "This is when I'm gonna plan the retreat," or, "This is when I'm gonna meet my friends and we're gonna brainstorm about it." You just have to put it on the calendar, even if it's just you and yourself. Like, cause I procrastinate, and so if I don't put it on my calendar that this Friday at 6 o'clock, I'm sitting down with my notebook and I'm gonna plan the next retreat, then it's just out there. And it ends up stressing me out because I'm just always thinking about it, but not doing anything about it. And the more that happens, the more you get in your head and think, see, I'm not good at this. I can't do this. Look at how I even failed to
Right.
plan it or whatever. So just put a date on your
Right.
calendar, plan it out, make it happen, and then set deadlines for yourself. We started realizing that a lot of times we will pick the date, but then we fail to announce it ahead of time. And like getting early bird registration out there, even if people don't register, it helps make them aware of the event that's coming up and just builds like excitement and stuff. And some people won't take that early bird deal and save money, but they'll plan like, oh, yeah, the next time I get my paycheck, I'm going to register for that retreat or whatever.
Mm.
So I had one person register using the early bird registration this past time, and then everybody else waited till, like, a month later when it was only, like, 3 weeks till the retreat. So, it's just funny. Everyone else procrastinates like us. So, you can't take,
Mhm.
like, the registration ahead of time as a failure. Like, a month out from the retreat, "Oh, nobody signed up. I guess nobody wants to come." No, they're just procrastinating like we do. It's okay. They're still planning to come.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's
Don't
what I
panic.
found out.
Yeah, I
They
get that.
last minute will just sign
Yeah.
up. So
And yeah, whatever deadline you give is the deadline they're gonna meet. It's like if you tell your kids to clean your room and you've got 8 hours or you have 8 minutes. It's either gonna get
yes.
done at the end of 8 hours from now or 8 minutes from now. So, I mean, it's
Mhm.
the sa we're the same way, you know?
Yep,
So
yep. And then, like, during that planning session, dividing the event into categories and making sure that you find I mean, for me, it's volunteers, but if your event is something where you feel like you can, pay the people, then you just have to add that into the ticket price to be able to
Mhm.
pay them. But a lot of us have friends that really do would love to help. They're feeling stuck at home doing all the mundane mom stuff or work stuff that we all just get in whatever, but they have creative stuff in their head too. So just kind of put your feelers out and start thinking, oh, yeah, that friend likes to make food. They love to bake or whatever. Like maybe I could ask them if they could make a few treats for, this retreat or whatever. And like
Mhm.
it's surprising once you get a ball rolling it's like that energy and that dreaming or whatever, I don't know. I've just found that it just attracts people. Like, people all of a sudden, I'm like, "I never knew that you were good at that," and then all of a sudden, they're, like, telling me that they can do that, and so
Right,
I've
right.
I've had a friend that I actually met through a Facebook group that's ended up being my worship leader, and she coordinates all the music. She finds the instrumentalists and the singers. We work together on
Gosh.
picking out the music, but she's ended up being my worship person that, like, heads up that team for, I think, the past
Oh
4 or 5 retreats now.
my gosh. How many have you had? I didn't realize you'd had so
I
many already.
feel like
Mm.
this one was number 6, maybe?
Okay,
Maybe
okay,
this one was 5. Maybe we had done 4, this is 5, so June will be number 6,
okay. June
I
will
think.
be 6. Okay.
Uh,
I mean, it's just It literally is so it just warms my heart because I
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
kind of
miss.
surreal when they
Yes.
happen because it's like we remember just sitting there, like, dreaming about, "Oh, that would be fun."
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I can even forget that, yeah, I've actually been doing this for a little while, and it's actually working. So,
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
doesn't look the way I necessarily pictured that it would, like, I tend to have big dreams. And so, in my heart of hearts, like, I picture a room of, like, 1,000 women and being able to speak to them, and I know I can already picture how
Mm,
I want to decorate it and, having, like, maybe a more well-known worship leader person there, but
mhm,
the Lord just keeps reminding me, like, small is okay. Like, He didn't
mhm.
always minister to the thousands, He also ministered to
Right,
a group of 12
right.
or sat around the
Right.
table with, like, a few. And so just learning to define what our success looks like and give
Mhm.
ourselves permission to celebrate small successes
Yes,
instead of always
yes.
thinking, I still haven't gotten to that place, that big dream."
Right,
But realizing
right.
that we're changing and growing and learning and the people that we're touching. Like for me, this
Mm,
last retreat ended up just being 8 people that came. And yet the burdens that they brought
mhm,
and the way that we were able to encourage them, like, we had a few that were pastors' wives that came, and it was just what they needed. Like, they needed that small environment just to share the heavy
yes,
things that they're going through
right,
and to feel safe to process through that.
right.
I've started learning that we always like to have breakout sessions where people divide into smaller groups, even if it's a small group to start with, like 20 people. We divide into like groups of 4 or 5 and let
Mhm,
them share and process through the topic. And I'll have like key questions for them. And then we've also added like a hands on activity to process. So this past time we painted. The
mm.
the theme was
So fun,
peace,
so
and
fun.
so I bought like these little
Mm,
tiny canvases and everybody painted like a word or a visual picture of peace, like to remind them
mm,
of peace.
right.
I think next retreat we're going to do some charm bookmarks that my daughter has, like, seen as, like, a new trend that she found, and I was
Mm,
like, "Oh, that would go with
yes,
our next retreat theme." So, yeah, just
that's
having, like, a
awesome.
time for people to use their hands and sit and chit-chat while they're doing that, because like, whoever takes time to do that at home anymore? Not very many of us will sit down and
Right,
be
yeah,
creative, but it's something that most of us at least enjoy. So, we've
yes,
added that to the
yes,
retreats as well.
yes. Well, I think that's amazing, and just everything your family is doing with your husband's theater company, Ignite Theatrical, and your podcast, Sisters Renewed, your Renew Retreat, your homeschooling, you're a dance instructor. I would beg to differ on your statement where you said you're not a go getter when you actually are, when you are pointed in the direction that you feel called to go, you go and you do it. So I think that thought of yourself as not being a go getter is a little misguided because I think you
Yeah.
actually are. When you are pointed in the right direction, you're doing all these things because organizing any kind of retreat, I mean, it's, like people who plan weddings and do all that. It's a major undertaking and you're doing, a lot of things. You're having to wear a lot of hats and pull a lot of pieces together in a certain time frame so that it's perfect for your people, and it's a lot of work, but I think it feels part of your calling, and I know that that's what means so much to you, and that's what's important in your
Yeah.
life, and you're doing a lot of things, And I think you're proof that you can build anything in this season of life, and you have to let go of what everyone else's definition of success is, and you have to be at peace with what yours is and only focus on that and say things
Yeah.
can be bigger later. Maybe just not right now. You can't have a 500-person retreat. I'm sure you would love that. But it now just is you've got 5 girls to homeschool. You're dealing with everything. You're a mother-in-law, you're teaching, you're doing all these things. So I
Yes.
think you are doing amazing. You are doing awesome, and, I know your girls are so proud of you, and they look up to you for all you are doing. I think it's amazing. Your husband has to think you are just wonderful and a rock star in doing God's work, and I think it's amazing. So is there anything else you would like to leave my listeners with before we go?
I would just say allow yourself to dream big dreams. Keep hope like alive and energized even during the mundane, like bite-size daily tasks. Every once in a while, just let yourself dream about what your future will look like because that keeps you like motivated to not give up here and now today when you're tired. But then
I agree.
celebrate your small successes or when you accomplish, that next thing. I think a lot of us tend to just skim over. I mean, I definitely do. It's like, well, I did that, like now the next thing or whatever. But take time
Right, right.
to eat some ice cream, take a bubble bath, take a walk, listen to a good book or whatever feeds your soul. Like just be like, I deserve this because I did another really hard
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah,
So don't be
it's
afraid
true.
to step out there. Kimberly says it all the time on her podcast, like simple, simple, simple. Keep it simple. What's the simplest way that you can do this? And like it really has been the key for me because I like to complicate things and I'm a detail oriented person. And so I can get so bogged down in the details that it just keeps me spinning in a circle instead of getting out of that circle and stepping forward and moving in the right direction. So that
Yep,
I think
yep.
is like one of the most important things. Is just do it simple, do it messy, but do it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Couldn't have said it better myself. I love this so much. Sarah, you're such an inspiration and you're so encouraging. And I just have to thank you so much for being on the show. For everyone listening, again, her podcast is Sisters Renewed, and she offers her Renew retreats in Greenville, South Carolina. And if you have a chance, check her out. I have all the links below to her podcast, Instagram, everything, so you can follow her and be inspired and encouraged as well. So thank you so much, Sarah. This was a blast, and I'm so thankful.
Now, this episode may be over, but our relationship does not have to end here. Head on over to KimberlyBrock.com, and yes, you can get more valuable information for your journey. And you know what? You don't need to go through this alone. I would love to help you. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye.